So this is something that I started last week, and it seemed to work out well. But let me let me ask, in your opinion, has AEW done better this year than last year at making an identity or making you want to pay attention to Rampage? And if they haven't, then what can they do to make you pay attention to Rampage? I've said it in the past that what AEW should do to make people want to pay attention to Rampage is make Rampage different than Dynamite. Either have it where different talent appears, have it where you see things on Rampage that you would not see on Dynamite. Have it, you gotta have it have a different identity. It's like I said back in the day with Raw and SmackDown, when the same announced team would be on Raw and SmackDown, it's not good because if you hear Michael Cole on both Raw and SmackDown, then you're not gonna think you're watching a different show. You're gonna think you're watching the same show because it sounds the same. So no offense to Excalibur, but if you hear Excalibur on both shows, you're gonna think you're watching both either Dynamite or Rampage because they're on both shows. And then if you see the same talent, if you see the same structure, if it's the same structure, if it's everything's the same, then do you really think you're gonna be watching a different show? The actual answer is no. Because if it sounds the same, if it looks the same, if it acts the same, then are you really watching a different show? The answer to that question is no. And it's unfortunate to AEW because I know they want people to watch Rampage too, especially considering the fact that they're going to have another show coming out over the summertime. Excuse me, over the summertime. So it's sort of like you got another show coming out over the summer, and you haven't really figured out how to get people to watch Rampage on a weekly basis because Rampage ain't much different than, normal AEW programming. But my question is, did you ever wonder why WWE has so many announcers? The reality of the situation is WWE has as many announcers as they do is because they want their shows to sound different. They don't have just one guy that that is the lead announcer for every show. I understand that JR can't do what he did back during his prime because he's at the age where he's looking closer to retirement than being a full-time employee and, putting in 60 hours a week or 80 hours a week, whatever he would put in when he was working for WWE at its height. And that's fine. But that's where you find a new announcer. I know Kevin Patrick ain't exactly somebody that everybody loves, but Kevin Patrick is also somebody brand new. When Michael Cole started with WWE, he was somebody brand new who just came over from the news. He was a news broadcaster before he came over to wrestling. And I know that Excalibur fits the AEW model. By that I mean Excalibur is a perfect AEW employee. He knows the wrestling. He's like Joey Styles in ECW. He knows what's going on. He knows the type of commentating that the AEW fans want. And his type of commentary is not the WWE type of commentary. His type of commentary is the AEW type of commentary. And that makes complete sense. But in my opinion, then that means Excalibur should look to bring in, have somebody come in and have Excalibur train somebody about how to do the AEW type of commentary. And this way, Rampage, or whatever the new show's going to be, whether the new show's going to be Collision, or whatever it is, it sounds different than regular programming. Because I'd also point out, I never watch AEW Dark or Elevation. But the fact of the matter is, from what I understand, the normal commentators do those shows too. You know, and I know it might be a subtle difference, but it is a subtle difference that you notice when the subtle difference is out there. And you may believe that it's not a subtle difference that you may think, oh, it's not a subtle difference. You're lying. You don't notice it. No, you do notice it when there's a different commentator. And I understand that a lot of people love Excalibur, but the fact of the matter is, Excalibur can't do it all, and he shouldn't be expected to. And, that's honestly part of it, but the other part of it is making sure that other talent can be featured on the program. And AEW has done a better job this year, in my opinion, of doing that than they did last year, where they seemingly care more about what talent is featured. It seems like they care more about what talent is featured, and also I think, to a degree, they seem to have found that formula of what works. Because a couple of weeks ago, they got the highest rating in 3 months or 2 months. They got their highest rating in 2 months a couple of weeks ago on Rampage, and the show was built around the Outcasts. I'm not going to point out anything, I'm not going to say anything of, build every show around the Outcasts. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying build every show around somebody that is not featured on Dynamite. This way you could push a segment or push a feud that you're not pushing on Dynamite. Because that's what the benefit of having another show is. You have more time to build up the feuds for the pay-per-view. You have more time to build up the feuds for the pay-per-view. And that's what Rampage is supposed to be for. I even said this, I think I said this in the Rampage previews, that basically, if AEW focused on having Orange Cassidy appear on Rampage, and just on Rampage, then it would get to the point where people would be expecting to see Orange Cassidy on Rampage. And expecting to see the title defense on Rampage. I'm not saying a title should be defended every week. A title should not be defended every week. Because then you get to the point where the champion runs through the roster. But if you want to defend the title here and there and sometimes, that's fine. And if you want to have the champion do a championship eliminator like AEW likes to do, that's also fine. That's also fine. You want to do that? Do that. Do it. Do it. But you just got to find an identity that works for Rampage, especially considering the fact that you're bringing up a new show. Because if you're bringing up a new show, and the new show is, the new show is going to go through the same growing pains as Rampage. It's going to go through the same growing pains that Rampage did. The same growing pains that Rampage did. And you're going to wonder, why are we going through the same thing again? What's going on? We still haven't figured out Rampage. Well, that's why you got to figure out Rampage, because otherwise, anytime you premiere a new show outside of All Access, because All Access is different and it's not a normal wrestling show, but anytime you debut a new show, you're gonna go through the same growing pains because you got to figure out a reason for people to start watching. You got to give people a reason to start watching. And if you don't give people a reason, guess what? They're not going to start watching. And if they do start watching, they may not keep watching. That's the problem. And that's where AEW is at now with Rampage, that people watch occasionally, but they don't watch every week. And I'm not saying put Kenny Omega on Rampage and have Kenny Omega be the weekly Rampage guy. I'm saying maybe Orange Cassidy, Adam Cole, the House of Black, You know, Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett. Maybe an exhibition match for Ring of Honor talent. You know, maybe this, maybe that, maybe an exhibition night where you just have talent from the indies, like a match that you would have on Dark. Like you have talent that you won't see anywhere else featured on Rampage because you want to give Rampage a unique feel. Like Commander and El Hijo del Vikingo. I know you want to feature the big matches, the dream matches, quote unquote, on the main show, but featuring talent that you won't see anywhere else, that would get people watching Rampage. You know, do I know the exact way to formulate an identity for Rampage? No. But that's because I'm not in the wrestling business. I'm not I'm sitting here behind my computer screen and I'm just giving ideas of what could be done to establish an identity. What do you guys think could be done to establish an identity for Rampage? Has AEW done better this year for as far as establishing an identity for the brand than they did last year as far as establishing an identity? And do you often watch Rampage, or is it something that you watch if you're home and miss if you must? But you don't really bat an eye. Let me know down in the comment section below, and if you enjoy content like this, I again will try and do it on a weekly basis if there's a topic for me to talk about and do a deep dive onto or into. If not, it'll be a normal news video, or maybe we won't do a maybe we'll just do a match. Either way, guys, I do hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video.